Hello and welcome. You're watching Cricbuzz Live. I'm Gaurav Kapur. With me, Michael Vaughan and Lisa Sthalekar. And the story from the D.Y. Patil Stadium is that Lucknow has fallen short. They looked like they were in cruise control. Lisa and me spoke here at the end of the 10th over, and it seemed like if they just kept their heads down and their noses clean, they could just pretty much just canter across the winning line, but wasn't to be. They fell short by 18 runs, which is quite a reasonable margin. For Bangalore, of course, it was Josh Hazlewood. Oh, he was brilliant today, going at a runner ball, just a tad over and picking up 4 wickets. 2 for Harshal Patel on the 1 wicket for Siraj, but really was Josh Hazlewood. He was all over Lucknow today and ensured that Bangalore gets those 2 points and jumps to the second position in the table. Michael, where do you think it went wrong for Lucknow? Because you would pretty much, at the 10 over mark, you'd say it was, the game was, I wouldn't say it was won for them, but it was reasonably within their grasp.
Yeah, it was. I'll be honest, I never had that much confidence pretty much from the get-go of the chase. I just didn't think they played with any kind of authority. Krunal Pandya came out and played nicely, but I just never felt that they were controlling the innings. I never felt that they had control of any matchups. They obviously lost key wickets at key times. Stoinis is just, I just can't see Stoinis at 7. He's batted at 8 and now he's coming in at 7 in this year's IPL. He's better than that. He should be higher up the order, if not at number 3, certainly around the 4 mark. I know teams like these finisher roles like Dinesh Karthik, but Stoinis is a better pattern than coming in down so low in a team that's hasn't been firing that well with the batting hand, apart from obviously a century in the last game from KL Rahul, a couple of innings from Quinton de Kock, but consistently they haven't been striking it that well. And it's celebration once again for a team that batted first and won. So I'm going to raise a glass of red wine tonight.
Naughty. Can we, as Lisa said, this weekend, can we get a captain who finally decides to bat first, because so many results are going their way? But Lisa, even it's true though, right? I mean, it just seemed like what Michael's just pointed out, just kind of looked a little rudderless, that chase.
Yeah, just simply because I think that they lost their skipper and Quinton early, and then Manish Pandey didn't pay off. So the top 3 just did not fire for them. That was probably the real difference there. And they lost them early. And then it was all about trying to get someone like a Deepak Huda with Krunal Pandya to try and put a partnership together. Just never really happened. So just when you felt, okay, maybe there's a tide turning, they lost the wicket. And so Bangalore were always just ahead of the game. I mean, we caught up at the 10th over, and you felt that partnership between Huda and Krunal Pandya was going to be a sizable one, and then wicket fell soon after.
Yeah, and it's interesting what they've done, right? I mean, the bowling seemed to have a lot more purpose and direction. You saw the little trap that they set for young Ayush Badoni. They knew where he was going to go. Michael, you're 19, you're severely talented, but you've got to say something about the grey matter that comes from just playing for 10 years or so.
Yeah, that's experience. That'll come. He's certainly a talent, and he's going to be around Indian cricket for a number of years. And I guess innings like today will be one that he has to store away and understand that there were some nice shots, but in amongst it, he almost he gave it away too early in terms of what he was going to try and do. It was so obvious by going right across what he was trying to achieve. And these smart balls, particularly if you're facing someone like Josh Hazlewood, who's got all the nous, all the experience, a real good story, Josh Hazlewood. I think 3 or 4 years ago, if you'd have said he'd be a real quality T20 bowler, you'd have gone, "Oh, he's a bit predictable. He just hits line and length." Now, what has he done? He's produced so many. If you watch the way he just keeps suddenly changing his fingers on the ball and bowling different slow balls, he's a great lesson to players that, yes, he's a diehard test expert because he can bowl line and length, but with that, he's now producing lots of different variations, which makes him very hard to line up in T20 cricket. So it's a lesson for all younger bowlers that you can improve all the time. And his bowling today was absolutely outstanding. Always ahead of the batter. And always thinking, what is the hardest ball to hit for that movement? What has he just produced? Right, what's the hardest ball to hit? and he generally he bowled the widest wide of all time that didn't get given. So it was his night.
Yeah, that one. I think that one. I think the point fielder could have touched that ball when it went. But Lisa didn't give it a wide. That was shocking.
Yeah, it was shocking. Chris Gaffney there, who was officiating, and Stoinis did well not to swear in that instance. He was very frustrated, but he giggled and laughed his way through, and then it did get to him, and he changed his movement to try and do it, and he got out. So, but yeah, just on Josh Hazlewood, I mentioned it at the 10 over mark. Just so good since he's been given an opportunity in the IPL and then backed that up in the T20 World Cup, and now all of a sudden, he's one of the first selected when you're thinking T20 cricket.
Yeah, his figures in the 3 games so far: 1 for 33, 3 for 28, and 4 for 25. So he's picked up 8 wickets now in 3 games, and is going at 6, 7, maybe 8 and over. So you'll take that. You'll definitely Faf du Plessis will grab that with both hands, and Josh Hazlewood doing the job today. Let's have a look real quick at the batting so that you understand what we're talking about. There was just nobody, like Faf had shepherded the innings for Bangalore. Just nobody who could shepherd the innings here. You had Krunal Pandya. Looked like he was trying to do that job. He did well. He did what he did. He did well, 42 of 26, but then holding out in the deep. Thought he could take on that long boundary, but couldn't. It was just that. It was, and you were backing this batting lineup, right? And you could have all the talent, but there's got to be plan. There's got to be intent. There's got to be execution. I know we say those words a lot, and we laugh when those are spoken in the post game, Michael, but they mean a lot when you fall short by 18 runs.
Yeah, I mean, if you just get that scorecard back up again, I mean, you look at the balls. Minions, get the scorecard up, please. Thank you. And if you just look at the numbers, KL Rahul 30 off 24, so that's not flying out the trap. You look at Quinton at the top, 3 off 5. Manish Pandey 6 off 8. There's only really Krunal Pandya 42 off 26 with any kind of strike rate at that top order stage, and then 13 off 14 for Huda, but only 13 off 30, and then it's down to Stoinis. Stoinis, can you strike 50 off 24 balls to win us the game? It's very rarely possible against the quality that they were up against. So they just needed a little bit more aggression at the top of the order. They tried to play their way into the innings. Maybe they saw the way the RCB team came out and lost early wickets because of that extra bounce, and the method was to give themselves a bit of chance and then explode into life. I just thought, the batting didn't quite have the right momentum. Stoinis is in the wrong position, and full credit to a bowling unit. They bowled really well. They used the change-ups magnificently. Spin at the right times. You look at Maxwell, 2 overs, 1 for 11. So the off spinner just got away with a couple of real handy overs and that key wicket. So it was a smart match. Again, we'll talk about it. Faf du Plessis' captaincy. He's making this RCB team the real deal. He really is. It's the way he operates. Even when he ran in from long off to review or not review, it's just the way he does it. He's just got a good manner of dealing with people. He's not just shooing them away and just saying, no, he'll run in and then go, we're not doing it. It's just, he's got a nice presence about him. He obviously batted well, but it's his presence and his tactical nous. I think the RCB team are going to go a long way this year.
Yeah, well, Lisa, also, I mean, his fielding, he's just such a gun fielder. He was running those 2s today. He's closer to 40 than he is to 30, to put it politely. Looking so sharp and fit.
Yeah, he's like one of those nice bottles of red wine behind Michael Vaughan,
Very nice, yeah.
Getting better and better as he's getting older.
Do you want to go Aussie or French tonight?
Let's go French. Why not?
I don't think, I don't think Michael lets any of those bottles age more than a week.
Come on, give it 2 weeks.
But the main thing about Faf is that he's so, 3-dimensional in terms of leadership, his fielding and his batting, and he's always puts himself in the hot spot as well. He wants the ball to come to him. He wants to make those important plays. Has always been that way. Hasn't changed now that he's skipper. Sometimes you see the skipper come in and field in the inner circle to be closer to the bowler. Not Faf. He's quite happy, and he's got a number of people, as in Virat and Glenn to Maxi that are inside the circle sometimes to be able to kind of help out. So they're all working together as a unit, which is, I think, the most important thing when it comes to team dynamics.
Lisa, do you know Faf is one of those South Africans that really annoys me, because you do realise he came over and played county cricket as a Kolpak right back. He's that old. I played against him when he was playing for Lancashire, and England were thinking, "Come on, he's a South African that we've missed."
Oh,
we don't
miss many. Yeah,
we don't miss the South Africans. Generally, if they're any good, we go, "We'll have you. Thank you very much." But he decided to go back and play, so. I shouldn't really be praising him, because he should have 3 lines on his chest.
He's going to be 38 in. He's got a lot of.
Bring him back.
He's got a lot of rings on the trunk, because he's 38 this July.
He could actually come back and captain the Test team if he wants.
There you go. Just speak to Keezy. That's part of his job.
And if you want, I can call Ajit and figure out from the Bangalore end, right? I can
Please do.
I can get it stitched up on this side. Well, it looks like Bangalore's got a lot of stuff stitched up this season. It's looking nice and pretty for them at the halfway stage now. They are, second position on the table. We played 7 games. I think they'll take that. Their fans will be very happy with that. They've got 10 points. They've lost 2 games. They won 7 today. Not too much that has happened to the net run rate, but a bit has, and that's good. They are going to be challenging Gujarat now, but Gujarat's got a game in hand, so they're not going to be losing too much sleep right now, because they're looking good as well. Lucknow, meanwhile, is bringing up the top 4. They are now 4-3. So probably, Lisa, they're beginning to have a bit of a think, because they did, come out of the blocks. They were looking good, contenders perhaps a few days back. A couple of games gone here and there. This league is that close that things start to unravel pretty quickly.
Yeah, and a new side, a new franchise, new management, new coaching staff, everyone, as soon as you start to lose a few games, then you start looking around a little bit more. And because they're all trying to kind of create a culture straight away. When you're losing, it gets just a little bit harder. So I just think they've got to make some changes with their batting order. They make some changes there, and then you'll find that they'll come right back up the top of that points table. So they've got to be brave enough to do it. But you get a sense that they want to firstly look after the Indian domestic players, which I totally get, because it is the Indian Premier League. But when you've got some world-class players that are just warming the bench, and then you're expecting them to strike it at over 200 to win you a game of cricket, they're not going to do it every game.
I'm just not getting it. We spoke about the finisher for Bangalore, Dinesh Karthik. I keep hearing everybody saying that you got to give your best batters more balls, and then suddenly your best strikers are just sitting in the dugout for fear of getting out. Michael, this seems to me like sitting in the dark because you're afraid that the bulb may fuse if you put it on.
Yeah, I mean, well, there's so many brains involved now in T20 cricket that sometimes you can have too many, and you can overcomplicate life just a little bit too much. And someone like Mike, I was watching Stoinis, and yes, he can strike a ball, but I've always felt that he plays better when he gives himself a few balls to get in. Mm-hmm. And he might be 6 off 10 because he's giving himself a chance to get used to conditions, and then he explodes into life. I don't see him as that player, particularly in India on Indian wickets, that he'd go out and strike from pretty much ball 1. I think he's a better player than that. I'd be amazed if he bats so low again. I think they need to move him up the order. I'd love to know who the boss is of the new franchise. I want to know who the boss is. Is it Andy Flower? Is it Gautam Gambhir? Is it KL Rahul? I'm not too sure. I'd like to know who the actual boss is making that decision, because I just don't think it's the right one at this stage of the competition.
You'd think they're probably made by a committee, these decisions, but you never know. But the fact is, Stoinis has batted at 8. He's batted at 7.
They probably have a social media poll. That's the kind of trend, isn't it?
It's moving in the right direction, though, right? But by game 12, he'll probably be the opener. They did have a poll for the name, I think, but I don't think for the batting order they're getting a poll. But he's moving in the right direction. He might be opening by game 12, right? You never know. He's moving in the right direction. Before we wrap up this game, and before we talk about tomorrow's game, we must talk about yesterday. I'll tell you why, because sometimes to know where you're going, you must know where you've come from. I'm just trying to force fit that saying in this, but it's because Lisa just told me that she was there when that first game was played. Brendan McCullum's 158 back in 2008. 18th of April. She was there, and she's got a very interesting anecdote about that, which I will let her tell.
Yeah. We were talking off air about obviously the anniversary, and I was working at Cricket New South Wales, and we had taken both a male and female under 19 side over to India, and we were actually staying in Chinnaswamy Stadium before the first game was played. So we saw all the bells and whistles and it all being put together. In the team for the New South Wales team was Elisa Healy and Elise Perry. So 2 young girls. Also in the male side, Adam Zampa as well. He was a very young pup back then. And the other funny story was that Elisa Healy and Elise Perry came across a very young Virat Kohli who they bumped into, and basically he said he was going to be the next best, the next big thing, and they were like, yeah, right, who are you, type thing. And then all of a sudden, his name and his stocks start to rise. So all of us kind of message each other whenever it's the IPL anniversary, because we had a great time in the stands watching.
Fantastic. Watching the ball travel over your heads regularly.
Yeah, crazy innings.
Yes, straight into the parking lot. Okay, well, so that kind of wraps up this game. Is there anything else either of you would like to express your opinion about? Any heartfelt
no
thoughts?
Other stories.
Any trauma? Any pain? Any discussion?
Just get from both your French or Australian tonight. I've got a decision to. I said I was going to have a glass of red because a batting team batting first has won again. So I just need a just
make sure you're not supporting the wrong red in the football. That's all I'll say.
Well, that's why I will be drinking a red, because the Reds are playing. Yeah,
that's it. Just remember.
I don't think don't worry. I don't think your Reds are under any danger from the other Reds tonight.
Yeah. I don't think they are. Yeah, first set 6-0 is what I call. All right, let's have a look at the game that's happening tomorrow. There's the one exciting game tomorrow. Exciting because they've moved the venue. That's right. A little bit of a COVID scare around the same time that this happened last year. Oh, shut your mouth, GK. Shut your mouth. Don't say it. Fingers crossed. Yes, it's Delhi playing Punjab tomorrow at Vaughan Stadium. Though, Lisa, they have said that this is contingent to them returning, the Delhi squad returning negative COVID tests in the morning. Oh, man, I'm going to have my fingers crossed.
Yeah, I mean, it's all a bit it's not a great feeling given what everyone experienced last year. So, fingers crossed Mitch Marsh comes out of hospital soon and that he's fine, and that there's no one else that is affected. But, to move the game makes a lot of sense, less travel. You've got to remember as well that the Delhi squad have all been isolating as well. So, once they get out and about, it's probably not the greatest preparation for the match, but Delhi really need to switch on and get their tournament going in the right direction.
Yeah, well, the good news is that today the entire squad is returned negative tests. So hopefully they do that tomorrow as well. And then this game happens. Let's have a look at the Delhi team. Michael, your thoughts, if they have to juggle anything, if they have to change anything, if they have to bring in somebody. I mean, we still don't have word on Nokia, do we? Still don't have word whether he's available tomorrow.
No, I mean, they were speaking that he'd done a bit of bowling and he was starting to get his paces back. So maybe they'll throw in the quick. They've just not played brilliantly in the last few games. It's just it's been one of those things. I don't think they've been that far short. They've just lost. It's just the IPL. You lose games of cricket. It's now how they react. It's how they deal with this situation. Somehow they've got to come out and get their better play. That opening combination is such a key part of the Delhi method. Cricbuzz and Davey Warner coming out and playing aggressively, and the skipper himself, who I think settling into the job quite nicely. I've been quite impressed by Rishabh's captaincy. I think he's been a lot calmer than I thought he would be. I thought he would be a little bit excited, and I've been really impressed by his calmness. But you're just desperate in a time when you know that you need a win for one of your better players to just show up and do something really special. And I think that's what Ricky will be saying to his team. Collectively play smart, but I think even Ricky will be going to bed tonight thinking, "Oh, come on, Davey, come on, Brickby, just one of you get us off to a flying start and get us a century," and that pretty much does the trick in T20 cricket.
If you just bring that team up again, Lisa, Robin Powell played the last game. Do you see perhaps Tim Seifert coming in place of him, just bolster the batting a bit?
Yeah, I think that they would be bitterly disappointed about the numbers that Robin Powell has kind of given out to Delhi at the moment. Just has not fired at all. I mean, and even when they had Sarfaraz Khan in, he didn't even he didn't really bat. He batted down the order 8. He got kept shuffling down when a guy who's scored so many runs at domestic level. So they've got a few options, I think. Whilst they're batting, you've got to score a decent amount of runs. It's also their bowling that, there's still a few question marks about it. So, fingers crossed that we saw, I think, Ricky Ponting saying they had to improve in all 3 departments. So it looks like he's getting a little bit grumpy, Ricky. So hopefully they can put a smile on his dial.
Michael, you know a bit about grumpy Ricky.
Yeah, they generally get grumpy, Australians, when they start losing. Problem is they don't lose that often. That's my problem.
Well, I suspect there's going to be a bit of juggling tomorrow. There's going to be, might just enforce a few changes because Mitchell Marsh, of course, if you look at that team again, we marked him in grey. He is the 11th player there. So he doesn't play. So who do you get in? There's a Yash Dhool who's sitting there. Been keen to see him after what he did at the Under-19 World Cup. Could he get a move? Could he get a chance to play tomorrow? Could they play again with just 3 overseas players? Could they get Lungi and Gidi in, perhaps? But, who do they make these changes for? So it seems interesting. Seems like Mitchell Marsh brings you the kind of balance which an all-rounder does. So they'll have to figure out what they do there. It's not going to be easy for them.
He doesn't have a great track record with IPL, does he? He gets injured early, gets sent home.
First game every time.
Yeah.
Happened.
And also, it's such a big loss for Delhi Mitchell because he had a bit of an iffy last game. His first game, he struggled with the bat, but he's such a really good player these days that he would have been better for that outing. And now he's going to be obviously on the sidelines for hopefully not too long, but I'm sure it'll be for a couple of games. And then he'll have to start once again. So it's not going to be easy for Mitchell Marsh. He's a big loss because I think when Ricky signed him, it was almost like he was a kingpin. Because he's playing that well. We saw him in the T20 World Cup throughout the whole of the Big Bash. He is that powerhouse at number 3 now that can get you hundreds in T20 cricket off 50, 60 balls. So it's a big loss for Delhi.
Let's have a look at Punjab and see what they would like to do with their team. There it is. They've got Mayank, the captain, will perhaps come back tomorrow if he comes in straight for Prabh Simran, you're guessing? Or, straight for Prabh Simran. That would be the straight swap there. But they're looking very good. The middle is looking really good. But otherwise, you don't see any other changes happening, do you, Lisa?
I mean, the only one still is probably Odean Smith. I mean, he's not getting them runs. He is going for a lot of runs, but he is picking up wickets. So it depends what they want to do there. I don't know too much about Benny Howe. Whether he's an option potentially to come in, but I think fingers crossed that Mayank Agarwal's big toe is all right. I think having him at the top is really important. But the Punjab side, they go hard. They've got good batting depth. They've got good strikers. They just need to keep a few more wickets in hand.
They're batting like the England T20 team of a few years ago, aren't they, Michael?
Yeah, they give it a red hot go. I mean, I just don't think, particularly in the last game, I didn't think they played smart. You had Liam Livingstone smoking it to all parts, yet he wasn't getting the strike. And it's all right having that mentality of wanting to go for it pretty much from ball one, and every player does it. But you have to be smart. You have to realise when there's a player going that you might not be going yourself. So you've just got to give him the strike. And of all the team, their fielding, I don't think it's that hot. I think they've struggled in the field in comparison to a few other sides. So I think Punjab, their ceiling is very, very high to get it right because of that power. And they do have decent combinations with the ball. But, they do have to improve the field and its smartness. You look at the Sunrisers, who seem to maximise every ounce of ability out of their unit. I think the Punjab team have got so much more talent and ability, but if you don't play smart, you'll get found out. And in the last game, they just weren't a smart enough cricket team. So that's an area of improvement that they need to try and produce.
Okay. Well, so that's the game that's happening. I hope is happening. In all probability is happening. Got my fingers crossed that it's happening. That's Punjab and Delhi. Because it's at that precarious position now, all right. But maybe the thing is that maybe if you just say it a lot of times, then you reverse jinx it, right? You take it out of the equation. It's not going to happen. We're all expecting it to happen, so then it can't happen. That works. Using fifth grade logic.
Works well enough.
Yeah. I don't know. Let's see. Well, no. It's as the last 2 years have taught us. Really, nothing is in our hands. You just have to wait and watch, and that's what we will do. All right, so that's the story from here, from Cricbuzz Live. It's nearing in on midnight here in India, but before we wrap up, let me just quickly show you a joy factor question, give you the answer again, and see who the winner is. On his test debut, this opening batter got hit by a bouncer 33 minutes into his innings, was retired, hurt, and never played another international match. Guess the player. We had absolutely no idea, not the foggiest. But Joy does. So bring the answer. Come on. Let's see it now.
What country? I want to know.
Andy Lloyd. Yeah. You remember that, Michael?
Well, I know Andy Lloyd, but I don't remember the incident, but I do know him.
Good cricketer? Was he a good cricketer?
Yeah, I think he was a Warwickshire player. Warwickshire, back in, you think in the 80s, aren't you? Yeah, 80s, maybe. Yeah,
Marshall,
80s. Yeah, I think the 80s would have been the time. Yeah, I think he was a Bear. He played for the Bears, Warwickshire.
Yet another felled by a Marshall bouncer, yeah? There's it's a big club.
Did you know, I'll tell you, I played against Malcolm Marshall. Who was he playing for?
Royal Bank of Scotland.
He was playing for Scotland. He was playing for Scotland. It was in the day when Scotland were a part of, I think it was the NatWest Trophy, 60 overs, and they were allowed an overseas player. Malcolm Marshall played for Scotland.
Jeez. Wow. Quick, go buy a lottery ticket.
He's what, sorry?
Go buy a lottery ticket.
Yeah,
should. Or half a lottery ticket, because half of that correct. Okay, well, let's show you the points table before we wrap up real quick. It's only shown it to you twice, but we'll show it to you a third time after we give you a winner of the Joy Factor. That's the points table I'm intending to show you, is just the winners list, and Rahul Patil has won it. DY Patil is where the ground was, where the game was happening today. He also owns that, and he's won Joy Factor today. So well done, man. Your family's done well tonight, Rahul. Congratulations to you. And before we wrap up, a real quick look at the points table so you can see what the significance of tomorrow's game, one game is. You've got both these teams down below. They're at 7 and 8. And for Delhi, so it's probably a little more important for Delhi because you play 6 games, and if you don't win this one, you just won 2 and lost 4, and then you're staring down the barrel of the gun. But for Punjab, again, they're playing their 7th, which means that they will end up losing more than they won as well. So, yeah, it's very interesting. It's the halfway stage, and it's very interesting. And I can tell you, there's going to be a traffic jam in the middle. You're going to have 1 and 2; they'll probably run away. And then from 3 to 8 is going to be a traffic jam, and a lot is going to be decided on net run rate. These results are going to be very important right towards the end. Okay, that's all we have time for. Got to go. Thanks, Michael Vaughan, for joining us all the way from England. Thank you so much. A big thank you to Lisa Sthalekar. Thank you for joining us from Australia. Good morning to you, by the way. Good morning.
Good morning.
Have some avocado toast. I'm Gaurav Kapur. Got to go watch some football now because sport must never stop. You were watching Cricbuzz Live. Good night.